Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back once again to Fat Cat Collections. Today, guys, I want to do another fragrance review, and today I'm going to be talking about Guess Seductive Blue Homme. Seductive Homme Blue. Blue Homme? Homme Blue. What do I think about this fragrance? So this is pretty good juice, I gotta tell you. One thing I really like about Guess, and I've recently done my review on the Seductive Red. If you haven't checked that out, I encourage you to check it out. I absolutely love the fragrance, and Guess is kind of like my new go-to fragrance line. You know, with all these fragrances, you're going to get different longevity and projection, and you know, it really just kind of depends on the brand, not really the price. I will tell you that I'm pretty happy with the Guess products. The price is right, and their fragrances are really good. This is my third Guess fragrance. I had I think it's a 1980 or 1987. I got for Christmas. My mom just got me this one the other day when we were at one of the local stores here. I will put a link in the description where you can get it for the same price on Amazon. I generally tend to buy on Amazon, but we were there, and the price was right, so we got it. And so this has been on my kind of wish list for a while. Now, you guys, I love L'Invicta by Yves Saint Laurent. It was a gift I got several years ago from one of my exes, and you know, I would never buy myself an expensive fragrance like that. There are just too many affordable cheapies out there. They can get similar results. Now, what I want to do is just give you guys my idea of what I get, you know, give you guys my opinion. Remember, these are my opinions. They're not right, they're not wrong. I'm going to give you, you know, do I like it? Do I not like it? What Fragrantica says about it, and then whether it will be one that I replace in my collection. I think that's one of the biggest deciding factors with a fragrance, because you know, when you have as many as I do, which I think up to 200, pretty hard to go through them all, you know. And there's ones that I wear more than others. Of course, newer fragrances, I always tend to you know, wear those for a while, and then they get put in the fragrance closet, and then I kind of forget, and I go back and remember them, and I wear them again, of course. But this one here is a pretty nice fragrance, and I want to talk about some of the folks or the votes that Fragrantica gets for what people compare this to. Which is the main reason why I decided that I wanted this in my collection. So here's the bottle. You know, I never really get involved too much in the packaging of the bottle. You know, it's a pretty nice looking bottle. Nothing really to write home about. You know, all these fragrance bottles are pretty nice in my opinion. They're all pretty cool. I kind of compare them to like liquor bottles, you know, or like having a nice bar. You can have your fragrance bar. It's pretty cool that they all are unique in their own way. You get the blue cap. Red Essence, you know, he shows you off how the cap holds and all that stuff. And he's one of my favorite fragrance reviewers, so I do take into account a lot of what he says when basically how it works. When I'm interested in a fragrance, I'll look at them on Fragrantica. One, if the price is right, I'll decide I'm interested. So if I see a fragrance in that $20 price range, I'm like, let me check this out. I'll look on Fragrantica, see what people say, then I'll go right to Red Essence to see if he's reviewed it, because I kind of can, you know, I can relate to anybody who likes fragrances. Obviously, we're all frag heads, but I like the way that he presents the fragrances. And he's got a pretty good nose for, you know, recognizing notes and describing them. So, pretty good, you know, Rolodex of fragrances. So, what do I get with this? So, let me put this down here so I can continue on talking to you guys. So, Fragrantica labels this as an aromatic spicy. A lot of times when you get a note breakdown or the main accords breakdown like this, it becomes a little bit confusing. I'm not sure where they get these notes from or how they classify these, but to me it becomes kind of jumbled. I like when I see a fragrance that basically, like for instance when I reviewed Seductive Red, you know, it mainly was a vanilla-based scent. You know, vanilla was above and beyond the strongest note, and you can smell it with the fragrance. When you get ones like this that, and I'll run you right down the list: aromatic, warm, spicy, fresh, spicy, marine, woody, sand, citrus, mossy, salty, savory. To me, you know, I'm done after 2. So I really have no idea what I'm going to get with a fragrance like this. And I probably wouldn't have gravitated to buying this or wanting this in my collection, because I do tend to gravitate more towards the darker, more, I want to say exotic, you know, this is subjective, but more towards the more daring sense. And I know that this one here I absolutely love. I know it's not really considered daring, but it has that vanilla, that warm spice to it, just that real, what I call comfort colognes, you know what I mean? They make people want to get close to you. Whereas this does have a sexy vibe to it. And the reason I really wanted this was because of what they set up for Grantica. So as far as the vote. So let me just run down the list here. Let's talk about the notes here. I don't get involved in the perfumer and all that stuff. I'm not going to do that. You can go click the link and read that on your own. Again, I will put the link to Amazon where you can read about the notes and see the most current pricing. Amazon's become a great way to buy fragrances. All right, so your top notes are cardamom, black pepper, citrus, and caviar, which is really interesting. Which you would think that would be very off-putting. You know, I think a lot of times when they do note breakdowns, a lot of these perfumers, you know, I think sometimes they do the note breakdowns like this. And I don't want to call anybody out or say that this isn't true or say anybody's lying to you, but to me, sometimes I think they might add a hint of something like that. Not really because it's going to change the fragrance all that much, but because it's a very unique note. It kind of draws you in. It's like, wow, ooh, I wonder what that's about. And for us frag heads, us fragrance addicts, it's like you got to know more. What? Caviar? I don't get it. I've never smelled that because I've never actually seen that in any other fragrance that I personally own. So really interesting. I think, you know, it's just like when some companies like Imaginary Authors or you know, I think Imaginary Authors, they have like an imaginary note. Zoologists will have like, I believe it's those two, will have like an imaginary note like sea salt, you know, which doesn't actually, or, you know, I can't remember exactly the notes, but I've seen them before with companies like that, fragrances that will have one imaginary note in their fragrance that's just, you know, mainly to intrigue you, honestly, and maybe to stick within the theme of the name, the theme of the fragrance. So to me, you know, caviar is, you know, has kind of a fishy odor. You know, again, I haven't. let me backtrack. Let me backpedal. I haven't smelled caviar, but to me, fish eggs have a, you know, it does have kind of a fishy odor, right? Not, I don't mean fishy and bad, but like an oceanic kind of odor. And I think that's why they put that in there. And then, of course, middle notes are C notes and geranium. Again, C notes. You know, when I smell this, I don't really get a really heavy aquatic note. I don't think of the sea when I smell this like other fragrances I do have. And then, of course, base notes, you have cashmere wood, sand, and moss. I don't think sand has a smell, and I kind of feel like the caviar, the sea notes, and the sand notes are really just almost imaginary notes in order to make it a blue fragrance, right? Make it very, when you think of blue fragrances, we think of fresh, you know, watery fragrances, oceanic fragrances, and a lot of times that's not always the case. Now, what's interesting about this fragrance is when we compare it to other fragrances, and this is what other folks have said about it, 83 votes compared this to La Nuit de l'Homme, which is one of my favorite fragrances. It's a fragrance that I don't really use much anymore because I have so little bit left. I don't really want to spend $80 or whatever it costs to get a new bottle when I have so many other fragrances. There's so many other things I'd rather spend my money on. So I wanted to get a cheap alternative to La Nuit de l'Homme. And I'll tell you, a lot of times with these perfume reminds me of sections, you know, it's to be taken with a grain of salt. Other people have compared this to the FCUK brand. I don't know which one that is. You have a fragrance by Replica called Beach Walk by Mason Martin Margiela. And of course, what kind of rang out to me was F by Ferragamo. Ferragamo F Black. Or sorry, yeah, F Black. And then, of course, you have another one by Vicky Teal. And there's a few other ones down the list. But mainly, people have compared this 83 votes to La Nuit de l'Homme. The next closest one is going to be 12. Now, 83 votes said that this reminds them of La Nuit de l'Homme. And then 47 people said it doesn't. Now, when I first got this and sprayed it, a lot of times it's very difficult. And I always recommend that you almost smell fragrances after you've stuck your head in a pot of coffee or some coffee grounds. I also find it interesting that when I drink coffee and I smell these the following morning, I get a different vibe. And I think a lot of times fragrances really kind of depend on what you've already eaten, smelled for the day, what you're wearing, whether you showered or not. It all has a fact on what your nose is capable of smelling, at least for me. So when I first smelled this, I expected a pretty heavy La Nuit de l'Homme like kind of scent. So I was like, all right, well, if it's close, I'm going to like it. To me, when people say that Ferragamo F Black smells like Lannoy de Lome, I don't get that comparison at all. I think they're two different notes. And I think if we are going to compare them and maybe give people the benefit of the doubt when talking about these, when I look at the notes on Ferragamo F Black, which is a great fragrance, by the way, we have top notes lavender, apple, middle notes black pepper, coriander, tonka bean, and labdanum in the base notes. None of those notes like kind of layer each other. And so I just don't really get the comparison between those two. I think they're two completely different notes. And I was hoping to maybe find a note that is in both fragrances that might allow me to give people the benefit of the doubt on why they might say that. Because sometimes all it takes is one note that's kind of heavy in the fragrance to say, oh, this reminds me of that. And I totally get that. But the only thing really that they share in common is the black pepper. That's it that I can tell. So I just don't really see that comparison. I would never pick up these two fragrances or pick up this fragrance and say, all right, smell it, blind buy, what do you get? And say, oh, this reminds me of Ferragamo F Black. When I do compare it to the Lannoy de Lome, let's see what notes kind of overlap there, if any. Lannoy de Lome is considered an aromatic, warm, spicy, lavender, woody, fresh, spicy citrus scent. It's a mouthful, right? When we look at the note breakdown, let's see if any of these overlap. So we do have cardamom in the top notes. We do have, yeah, that's it. Those are the only notes that overlap is the cardamom. We don't even have black pepper in Lannoy de Lome, which is surprising to me because I think it is kind of a spicier fragrance. And this is why, depending on how they layer different notes, you can kind of duplicate other notes by that. Now, I'm not a perfumer. That's just my opinion. But when I do smell this, the important thing is when I do smell this with a fresh nose, I do get a Lannoy de Lome vibe. It's not exactly, one-to-one, but it's awfully similar. And now, again, it's not Lannoy de Lome, but I think if you do like Lannoy de Lome and you're looking for a cheaper alternative, even something you might want to layer with Lannoy de Lome to kind of prolong the life of Lannoy de Lome, you could definitely get away with doing this. Other people have said they like this more. Let me, just while I got you guys here, I haven't done a side-by-side on these. And to be honest, a lot of times when I'm doing a fragrance review like this, I don't like to do side-by-side because they start to overlap and I can't tell the difference at all. Whoops, I lost the cap. Damn it! That's great. There it is. Not saying much for Lannoy in their sprayer. Oh, man. Yeah, they are really similar fragrances, but the Lannoy definitely has just a, I'd say the Lannoy definitely, I mean, if you smell these, you guys are going to say, oh yeah, I totally get that comparison. They are very similar scents, but the Lannoy de Lome to me has a little bit more warmth to it, if that makes any sense. There's a little bit more of a creamier warmth to it, where this, it kind of leans a little tiny bit more towards like a little citrusy, a little freshy, and it makes sense because there is citrus in the top notes. But they are really similar, and I just feel like the best way I can describe this is that Lannoy de Lome is the cozier version of Guess. If that's the best way I can describe these two, the differences. But they are so similar that I don't know if I would spend the money on replacing Lannoy, but it is a different scent. They are different side by side. It's not like one is a clone of the other. They are very similar, but this one here, it's almost like this would be like your winter version of Lannoy, and this would be your summer version. And I know and I've said many times, I don't believe in labeling when you should wear fragrances. You can wear them whenever you want, but that's the best way that I can describe it. And it's hard to describe a fragrance by some, you kind of just have to experience it. Hard to do that online, but that's the easiest way I could describe this. I don't consider this a blue fragrance. To me, when I think of blue fragrance, I really smell things that are very aquatic, very oceanic. I don't get that, but it is fresher and bluer than the original Lannoy de Lome. So again, to be honest with you, the way my mind works is if Lannoy de L'Homme, and they may already, if they were going to make like a blue version of Lannoy de L'Homme, this is what you would get. And this is why I would think that if I smelled these completely blindfolded and I said, oh, I know one of those is Lannoy de L'Homme, and I smelled this right after it, I would not be surprised if this was in a slightly bluish Lannoy bottle, and they were like, yep, this is our brand new blue version of Lannoy de L'Homme. It almost smells like a flanker of the original Lannoy. So very similar fragrances, just an amazing, amazing cheapie. For 20 bucks for 3.4 ounces, it's incredible. And this has really made me want to get another Guess fragrance. Another great thing about fragrances, guys, and ordering from Amazon is again, I ordered the Guess Seductive Red. I thought I was ordering the 3.4. And I realized that I ordered the 1.7. I'm not blaming anybody. It's my fault. But I was kind of annoyed with that. And I contacted Amazon to return it, to exchange it for the other fragrance. And unfortunately, anything that's like cosmetic related, I guess they don't exchange, right? Or they don't, you can't return. Which is surprising because most things you can return on Amazon. So what I found interesting, I contacted their chat department. It was totally automated. And they basically... they ask you what happened. I was like, yeah, I ordered the wrong one. I wouldn't have paid $20 for 1.7, went for 23. You get the 3.4, and I like this fragrance a lot, which is why I wanted to exchange it, because I know I'm going to go through this. And they were like, in the computer, the automated system just said, yep, no problem, no need to return it, we'll refund you. So, I mean, pretty incredible. And, Amazon is just really an amazing company. Now, you don't abuse anything, because they're not stupid either. But they really are an amazing company. This is why I pretty much buy everything I can through Amazon. I'm always getting the best price. I'm always getting the best service. If I have a problem, they take care of it. It is really an incredible company. I hear a lot of people be like, oh, Amazon's the reason for small businesses. Well, you know what? Maybe small businesses should really step up their customer service game. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. And you may feel differently. Always buy and shop from where you feel most comfortable, and you're going to get the best deal and be happy. But for me, it's Amazon. Not saying that, this one here, again, links in the description, but, I did get this at Burlington Coat Factory. It was there, 19 bucks. It was a good deal. We were there. It's nice to get it same day. But honestly, I mean, I do like the mission of going out and finding stuff, and if the price is right, buying it. But I will generally give my business to Amazon just because of that reason. The customer service, the not having to deal with people. I mean, it's just a great experience. So, I'll be honest with you. Up until the last couple of years, I used eBay for all my fragrance needs, not Amazon. So they're really, because I found their prices weren't as competitive. Now they're really as competitive as anybody. So check them out. Again, links in the description to these. If you do get it, let me know. If you have this and you want to drop a comment, by all means do so. I do appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this unscripted, unedited video. Nothing like getting a new fragrance, guys. I love this hobby of collecting things, and especially cologne. It's so much fun. I love smelling good, and I know all you frag heads definitely share those thoughts. So thanks for watching, subscribe, and have a great day, guys. Take care.